Wanted to talk about something just a tad controversial today. And before we do, I want to backtrack about 10 years. So when I had my advertising agency in our conference room, we did courses. I've always loved education. One of the reasons why I do these videos for fun is because there's an expression of myself and knowledge. It has to be expressed. So at that time, Facebook was going from a college platform to a social platform, and business profiles were showing up. And business owners had no idea what to do with this. They were really worried about their reputation and what they might say, how they need to say it, about posting, which is kind of funny looking at today and how people are. I digress. Let's get to the message that my client sent. Good morning. In our next session, can we discuss social media posting and the impact it can have on your business? I'm thinking of firing my insurance agent after seeing something they posted. So I don't know about you, but since this pandemic started, I have lost so much respect for people. I'm talking about people who I held in a high regard or people I felt like I wanted to get to know. Now I have no interest in whatsoever. And it wasn't because of their opinion, it was how they handled their opinion or the disrespect for others. Now, you have to figure out what your non-negotiables are in life. And one of my non-negotiables is respect for others. So for me, that's just a turn off completely from someone. Now, another interesting thing is when this all started, I did a little survey of my 10 best friends. And out of my 10 best friends, 9 of them had completely opposite views than me. You're talking about things on math, vaccines, even political party. And it just really shocked me. And I wonder, how can these be my best friends when our views and beliefs are so opposite? Well, the reason why is because we were there for each other as humans. We're respectful of each other. We're there for each other. If different views came up, we just kind of passed over it, I guess. Well, 2 years later, I did this study again, but now with my 15 closest, because I've gained some more close relationships in my inner circle over this pandemic. And 13 out of my 15 are completely opposite views than me. So it really has nothing to do with opposite views. It really has to do with respect of others within these opposite views. Now, I'm really curious with this client, what happened or what was said, because if it was something that landed on that disrespect and that is a non-negotiable for this client, then that might be a reason to say, okay, I can't work with this agent because I completely have lost respect for them. Having that rapport and respect is very important in any type of relationship. Now, if it was just something that was said and they got triggered by it, then it's looking at what that triggering happened. So usually when you get triggered by something, the first thing you want to do is look at yourself and see what was it that you got triggered by, because it could be telling of you more than what the post said. Now, going backwards to that class I did on Facebook, one of the things I had was a few sides, and it said what you should post and what you shouldn't post, because that was one of the biggest questions I got. On the shouldn't post, I said you want to follow the dinner party rules. Now, I have a little bit of etiquette background, and the dinner party rules are you don't talk about sex. I know, no fun, politics, or religion. Now, get me and my friends on a Friday night, all fair game. When you're talking with people you don't know in like a dinner party setting with strangers, it is a good idea to kind of watch those topics. We still do it in person. Just some reason when you have that screen in front, it seems that people don't follow that as much. So I think you really need to figure out where you are on the spectrum. If you're someone who's like, I don't want to trigger anyone, I don't want to hurt anyone, I don't want to hurt my reputation, like if you're in that space, then follow the dinner party rules. And when you post something, ask yourself, does it fit one of these? Now, if you're in the other spectrum, you're like, I don't give a damn, then post. It's all about expression. If that's the expression of self you want in the world, then do it completely. Now, be aware other people will too on the opposite side. So the part that bugs me is when someone says, this is who I am, and then they get really mad when someone does it back to them. So if that's your choice you pick, then acknowledge the people who are doing it as well on the opposite side. You can respect even with those completely opposite opinions. Now, if you land in that middle, or you're like, oh, I want to be authentic, but I also want to be careful, then there's a few things you can do. One is you can join groups. And in the groups, you can do all your venting in that group. Now, this does put you in a silo with all the same opinion. And Facebook does that kind of anyway. So Facebook's really good at showing you posts that are related to the post you posted, and it's in the same opinion thread. What I do, especially during political seasons, is I will post on opposite viewpoint just to mix the algorithm up some so I can get a better full view. But most people don't do that. Another thing you can do is you can segment your audiences on your posts. So you can have certain people who see certain posts and certain people who see others. If you want to know how to do that, let me know. I'm happy to do a quick video on how to do that. That's a way you can make sure that you are doing your post per audience. You just have to make sure you remember to change it as you're posting. Other people will just make their profile private, which means that anything they post that normally, like that they don't want private, they can make it public, and then people on the outside can see it, but you have to be a friend of theirs to see most of their posts. You can do that if you're not friends with, prospects, clients, referral partners. So some people do it that way. I know other people who have two totally different profiles, and one of them is their self-expression, kind of their avatar, and one is their business. I think that's a lot of work, and you can do that, and there's ways you can quickly switch between profiles now with social media. So you really just need to figure out what's going to work for you. If you haven't noticed already, I do more of a education consulting way of talking and working with clients where we figure out where they're at, give options, and figure out the best option for them. And I think you need to figure that out for you as well. Now, an important piece is for you to think about what are your non-negotiables and kind of follow those non-negotiables for others. So me, like I said, my non-negotiable is treating people badly or being rude. So when someone is that way, it's harder for me to get over it. I can get over a difference of opinion, not your treatment of others. But that's me. You need to figure out what that non-negotiable part is for you. Now, I am a fight for what's right person, and especially in parenting groups, there's been times I have stepped into the fire. I am known to be completely fine stepping into the fire for something. Now, it's stuff that I'm very passionate about. So picking your battles is also important. If it's something that you are so headstrong, like this is it, then step in that battle. Just know with every battle, there's always some fallout. So just if you're going to do it, know that what could come from it and just be okay with it. Another thing you want to think about is the fallout from posts you post from people who are commenting. So I'll give an example of this. When this first kind of started, I did a post that was just kind of in the middle neutral. But what happened was that my comments went haywire, like completely haywire, and people were just being so rude to each other, and it was horrible. Well, then a few weeks later, I posted on a guy's post, and his response to me was, blah, 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 you were the worst person I met this year. I was like, what? So I did some digging, and he had commented on like 2 of my posts, and that was the first post I commented on his. We've never met, had any other interaction, never talked. So I engaged him, and I had a conversation with him to figure out really what was there. What had happened was he was one of the people that was getting hit, and he was getting triggered, and they were triggering each other and arguing on my post. So because I was the original poster, he attributed what was happening to me because it must have been my opinion because it was my post. So even though it wasn't, it just had some backlash to me. So just know that some of the residue from what people comment on your post can fall back on you. So just be cautious of that and what's going on in the comments on what you post. With all that being said, this is something that is very personal to you. So really kind of look at, again, what are your non-negotiables, what triggers you, what might trigger other people, and make just a plan of attack and give yourself your own little guidelines that you can double check yourself when you're posting. And if there is any fallout from it, you're okay with it because you've made that choice. It is all about choice.